y'all, it's Gretchen and welcome back to my channel. I am very excited for today's video. Like I've been kind of mentioning over the past few months, I really want to do a better job of incorporating more makeup related content onto this channel because makeup is something that I am very passionate about. I absolutely love makeup. Am I stellar at doing makeup? No. Like, you'll never see flawless looking looks on me, but that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy the process of makeup and all the fun things to play with when it comes to makeup. So one makeup related thing that I want to share with you all are my top favorites of whatever product, you know, whether that's top 10 eyeshadows, top 10 lipsticks, top 10 blushes, highlighters. So I thought I would go ahead and kick that off by doing my top 10 favorite eyeshadow palettes. Now, if you've seen, I recently did a huge declutter on my eyeshadow palettes, so I'm kind of limited on what I have, but at the same time, I also did keep the ones that I truly love. Now, these eyeshadow palettes are in no particular order. These are just ones that I really enjoy, that I go back to all the time. One of them I've only had for maybe a couple of weeks. Another one I've had for roughly 3 years, maybe more than that. They range a bit in how long that I've had them for, but these 10 eyeshadow palettes are ones that I find myself reaching for more often than others, and ones that I truly just enjoy creating looks for. And again, these are in no particular order. I'm probably just gonna go by brand, so there's no like number 10 or anything like that. I don't think I'd be able to do that. I might be able to pick a number 1, but I don't think I'd be able to like list them in order. So I'm just gonna go by brands because I do have a few brands where I have 2 palettes from them or 3 palettes from them or 1 palette from them. So I think I'm gonna go like that. I will save my number 1 because I do have a number 1 and I will save that one for the very last one. So if you're interested in what my top 10 eyeshadow palettes are, keep watching. Also, these are probably my current ones, so that's not to say that this list couldn't change. So first up, we have the Honey palette from Urban Decay. I love yellow eyeshadows. I'm pretty sure yellow eyeshadows are my absolute favorites to work with. I love yellow eyeshadow looks. Honestly, I probably should have done a yellow eyeshadow look for today just because I love them so much. I'm talking about eyeshadow palettes, but I went with another palette that's in this list. It's fine. But when this palette came out, I was like, I have to have this. And I didn't get it right away just because these are kind of expensive, but I do really enjoy Urban Decay's Naked palettes. I think they're fantastic, but Honey is probably my all-time favorite of the ones that they've put out, followed closely behind Heat. I really enjoy that one. But just these, oh my gosh, look at them. You can create so many neutral looks with them. You can create so many looks that pop. Yellow eyeshadows are some of the best to work with and just add a little bit of pop to your eyes. Or if you're feeling more neutral, you want to tone it down a little bit, this palette has everything. It has a lot of matte looks. It has a lot of shimmers. I love everything about this palette. There are definitely some shades that I use more than others. I don't use Queen too much just because that is a deep shimmer. Whenever I use a shimmer on my eyes, I usually go for lighter ones like Golden or Honey. This palette is just absolutely stunning. Love everything about it. I love that it has a little bit of like a yellowish white over here. Usually I use that on the inner corner of my eye. And then it goes all the way down here to Sting, which is like a deep brown. Everything about this palette is one that I would bring with me wherever. Like if I was going on a trip and could only bring one palette, I would do this one just because I could create so many looks with it. I don't know if anyone out there is like me and obsessed with yellow eyeshadows. Probably my favorite color to work with. But also look at the packaging. Look at that. It's just so pretty. Look at that. This one is definitely my favorite of the Naked palette line from Urban Decay. Next up, we have the Soft Glam palette from Anastasia, Beverly Hills. I didn't quite understand all the fuss around this palette at first. Like, I did not get this as soon as it came out, but everyone raved about it and how great it was. So I was like, I've got to get it. I got to see why everyone likes it. And I love Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadow palette, so I'm not sure why I didn't like pick up on that hype and get it right away because I'd gotten all the other ones. But I was just like, no, I'll wait a little bit before I get it. And then it was sold out all the time. You couldn't find it anywhere. I started off with the mini one. There's like a Soft Glam 2 and it's only half the size. So I was very excited when my mom was able to find this one for me. She's like, have you gotten it yet? And I was like, no, I can't find it anywhere. And she's like, okay, good, because I got it for you. So I love this palette. Again, a lot of the colors that I really enjoy working with, these are more yellow orange. They're not quite that yellow that you found in the Honey palette, but they're like a yellow orange. A lot of shimmers that I really love. Glistening and Fairy right here. super gorgeous on the eyes. I do love palettes that give you a black eyeshadow because I do put the black eyeshadow on my waterline. I put that over top of an eyeliner, just helps it make it stay in place a little bit longer throughout the day. Love that there's also a red in there, some browns, oranges. You even have like a dusty rose over here. I don't use that one as much in my looks, but it's still a gorgeous color and a gorgeous option to have. There's just so much going on with this palette that I love. You got the shimmers are absolutely stunning. If you're gonna have an Anastasia Beverly Hills palette, I highly recommend this one be in it. Also on this list is Sultry from Anastasia Beverly Hills. Now this one I've had for a while. I can't remember which one actually came out first, Sultry or Soft Glam. You're gonna see that I obviously like this one because I have hit pan on a few of the shades. Also, I lost the brush. I don't know where it went, but I love this so much. Again, I am more neutral when it comes to my eyeshadows. I don't usually get too wild with colors. I've got to be like in a mood like, yes, we're gonna do that look today. I like to stick with more like noticeable but still muted eyeshadow looks, which is why I really enjoy this one. Got a lot of browns in there, got a lot of shimmers that don't draw too much attention. Now it does have bloom over here, and as you can tell, I haven't really touched it too much. It's not my favorite shade in this whole palette. However, I do like having that option, much like with Soft Glam, that dusty rose. Don't use it too much, but I like having the option there in case I want to do something with it. And again, with all of Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes, both of these have noir in it, that black eyeshadow. I like that option in there. There's just so much to work with in Sultry. You've got grays, you've got browns, you've got the little bit of coral, you've got golds, you've got all these shimmers. This is a fantastic palette. And again, obviously I really like these shades because I hit pan on them. Next up is the Nomad by Juvia's. This is by far my absolute all-time favorite palette to use in the fall. I use this year round, but in the fall, first of all, packaging, absolutely gorgeous. Love the color scheme going on. And then inside, this is just the perfect color scheme for fall. I use this one year round, but to use this one in the fall with the yellows, the greens, the oranges, the browns, it is stunning. I only have 2 palettes from Juvia's and I really want more because the formula is incredible. It just applies so nicely. Never any fallout, at least in my experience, and it just goes on smoothly. And again, sucker for a yellow eyeshadow. But this one in the fall, you've got that green right there, got the orange. It is absolutely incredible. Love this palette so much. Again, use it year round, but in the fall, it is the top pick. I use this all the time. Look at the shimmer in that yellow. Look at that. And that green, oh my gosh. I just want to play with this again. It's been a little bit. I haven't played with this one too much during the winter time, but during the fall, I tell you, this thing comes out all the time. All right, so this one from ColourPop, I have literally only had it maybe a month, but that is the Wannabe Palette. Again, clearly I like yellow shadows. This is an entirely yellow color story. Again, I haven't had it very long, but I can quickly tell you that it is one that I go to all the time to use. Everything about this is fantastic. I also love how compact it is. This one travels with me all the time now. You have 5 mattes, you have 4 shimmers. Love the variety in this. Again, you can do so much with this. You can do just a simple everyday look where you only like do one color on the lids. You can do a full-on look. All these shimmers down here, absolutely love them. 2B is probably one of my favorite muted yellow shadows. Sweet Much right here, this shimmer, absolutely gorgeous on the inner eye. This is another really good one to work with formula-wise. Applies pretty smoothly. I just love this one so much. Like, oh, it's just so pretty. And again, really love these palettes from ColourPop. These ones that have 9 shades in them. Very compact, easy to travel with. This one is definitely one that gets thrown in my makeup bag all the time when I travel. All right, so this next one from ColourPop is probably my favorite. I don't even know how to describe this one. This is probably my favorite neutral palette just because of the variety of shades that are offered, but it is the Stone Cold Fox palette. I love this palette. ColourPop does a really good job at making their palettes compact and not very bulky, so it is easier to travel with, it's easier to pack up. But this palette, if you are looking for a palette that has all of your neutral dreams come to life, this is the palette. There are so many options in here. There are warm browns, there are taupes, there's pinks, there's black, there's just so much going on here to create that amazing neutral look. I love this so much. This is one that I've probably going toward the most recently just because of everything there is to work with here. Now, I will say I don't go to the grays too much, like Rumor Mill right here. I don't usually gravitate towards that. Again, I don't gravitate towards pinks so much these days like I used to. Nothing wrong with them, it's just not what I gravitate towards. But there's something in this palette for everyone. Again, so many mattes, so many shimmers, so many options to do a whole bunch of different looks with it. This is just, if you could have one palette, that's it. I'd probably suggest this one just because you have so much to work with here. And again, ColourPop does a really good job at making things compact and not super bulky so that it is easy to store. And I really do enjoy that. All right, so far I've shown you a lot of like neutral looking palettes. I understand that. I don't have many colorful palettes, though I do have this one, and this one is my go-to. Like if I am in a colorful mood and want to do something bam on the eyes, this is the palette I grab, and that is Jeffree Star's Jawbreaker. This is my go-to super colorful, super vibrant palette. There are so many color options in this palette, and again, you see those yellow eyeshadows, you best believe I go to those a lot. But if I want to create a sunset look, I'd use these shades right there. If I want to use a pastel soft look, I do like these pinks and purples. There's so much going on in this palette. And if you just want to stick with something neutral, you have some browns down here and a white up here that you can create that neutral look with. Like you can get a completely neutral look with this palette, which at first glance you may not believe, but you can. This one doesn't offer as many shimmers as other palettes. How many are there total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 out of all of these. There's 24 shades. 6 of them are shimmers, the rest are matte. This one, when I look at it, makes me just feel bright and bubbly and happy just because of all the different colors in there. These are not colors that I'm gonna go towards all the time, like this blue. You will not see me rocking that just every day. I will go to a yellow instead. This purple, I'm not gonna use that all the time, but if I'm in a mood where I'm like, I wanna create something that pops, that really stands out, that's not my norm, this is the palette I go to just because of how colorful it is. So I talked about how I have the Nomad by Juvia as my like top fall palette. Well, I also have a top summer palette, and that is Thirsty from Jeffree Star. Now this one I think is discontinued, which is highly upsetting because I love the shadows in this palette. So I'm like holding on to it just because of that. But this is the perfect summer palette. And shocker, there's a yellow eyeshadow in there. Can you guess which one that I really like? I love this palette for the summertime. Again, I will use this palette year round, but I much prefer it in the summertime just because of the shades that are in there, especially these blues down there and that like seafoam green. I'm not gonna use those year round, but in the summertime, they are just absolutely gorgeous. The pinks up here, I was just talking about how I don't use pinks too much, but the pink and coral up here, love to use in the summer. Shimmers are excellent. This one is also nice compared to a lot of Jeffree's palettes. Both of these actually are very compact, just kind of stack nicely, whereas the other ones tend to be bulky and oddly shaped and don't always store the way that you would like them to. But I've had this one for a while, and when I heard that it was getting discontinued, I'm pretty sure it's discontinued and not available anymore, I was like, I have to hold on to it because I love it so much. So this one is one you can create a fun, colorful look with, or you can stick with a more neutral look. That yellow down there, Quench, oh my God. It's such a gorgeous color. Honestly, I should do like a top 10 yellow eyeshadow video just because of my love for yellow eyeshadow. All right, so now we're getting down to my last 2 favorite eyeshadows. This is from a brand that I have, I think, loved the most of any brand. And both of these are from Tarte. So the first one is actually what I'm wearing on my eyes today, and that is a Tartlet Toasted. I love this palette so heckin' much. It is a very orange based palette. You've got a lot of oranges and browns and just neutral looking shades in here. Again, this is what I'm wearing on my lids today. It kind of goes well with the green. I love this palette so much. This is the palette that I will use if I'm stumped and not like, I'm like, I don't know what to do on my eyes today. This is the palette that I can use and create a look that stands out and isn't just flat, if that makes sense. Everything about this I absolutely love. I will say there is one shadow in here that will throw you off a little bit, and that is Sunrise over here. You think that's gonna be a nice crease color? Well, there's shimmer in there, and if you don't quite know that, all of a sudden you're putting shimmer all over your eyelid, and if that's what you wanna do, go for it. That's not what I like to do. So I will say Sunrise kind of throws you for a loop if you're not used to it. The rest are easy to tell. I love this palette so heckin' much. Again, can you tell that I really like warm tones? Which is funny because I technically am a cool tone person, but I absolutely love these shadows. They just work so good. Love them. I think my favorite would probably be either warmth or cozy. Probably cozy over here. I like to use that one on my outer corner a lot. All right, so my final palette and probably my top favorite palette. I have had this palette probably too long. This is also from Tarte. This is one that my mom gave me, and this is just a palette that is a comfort palette. I mentioned this in my eyeshadow declutter video, that this was a palette that brings me great comfort whenever I use it. And in the video, I was like, oh, I'll declutter it and maybe get a new one. I didn't actually declutter it. That was the one palette I couldn't part with. Even though in the video said that I was gonna get rid of it, I couldn't part with it. And that would be Tarte's Tartiest Pro. I love this palette so much. I can't bring myself to get rid of it even though it is several years old. This palette is absolutely incredible. So many color stories go in here, and I love that they all kind of like line up with each other. In each line, there's 4 matte shades and then a shimmer, and they all just kind of go well together. You can mix and match if you want, or you can just pick a row and that's your look for the day. I love this palette. That top row was one that I gravitated towards a lot. Obviously, it's the more orangey brown shades. I also found myself going toward the reds a lot, but this is my comfort palette. This is the palette that, even though I don't use it nearly as much as other palettes, especially these days, this is one that it just brings me so much happiness when I use it. Like, there's so many good memories associated with this palette. That might be a little weird for me to put that much like emotion into an eyeshadow palette, but there's just something special about this one that I love so much. Maybe I should replace it. I think I can still get this one. Might be best to replace it because this is from like 2016, so I probably should, but I don't know. This palette just brings me a great deal of joy and is my all-time favorite eyeshadow palette. So those are my top 10 favorite eyeshadow palettes. Have you tried any of these before? What did you think of them? Just because I say that I really enjoy a palette doesn't mean that like other people are going to enjoy it. We all have our preferences. You know, maybe I really like ColourPop's formula, but someone else is like, oh, I didn't think it worked that great for me. You know, we all have our favorites for a reason. What are some of your favorite eyeshadow palettes that you find yourself going toward a lot, that you can't seem to part with, that you've repurchased before? What are some of your favorites? I'm also always looking to try new ones, especially colorful palettes, because again, if you noticed, a lot of my favorite palettes are more muted. So if you've got any recommendations for me, please drop them in the comments below because I would like to check them out. Special thank you to my patrons. You can help support the channel on Patreon while having access to videos early, viewing patron-only content, and more. But that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big old thumbs up. Go on down there, hit that subscribe button. Also hit that notification bell so you can know when I upload next. But until next time, bye y'all.